Now, the news. Smith & Wesson has a few new ones for us this week. First is a new pistol called the M&P 22X. This is kind of their attempt at, yet again, keeping up with other brands because this has 20-round magazines. Higher cap 22s are becoming a thing. It only comes with 2 of those mags, which is lame, but hey, 20 rounds is kind of nice. The barrel is 4.1 inches long, has a threaded adapter, so you can run a can. It's internal hammer fired like their EZ series, and it's also cut for an optic, which is nice. If they get the trigger right on this thing, it could be a home run at 500 MSRP. They also have a new version of their FPC, or folding pistol caliber carbine thing. This one is also chambered in 22 long rifle and actually comes with 3 of those 20-round mags. The barrel is 16.25 inches long. Otherwise, it's very similar to all the other FPC rifles. MSRP is $550, which really isn't that bad. I feel like this actually might be better value than the pistol. I personally really enjoy 22s. I think they're a lot of fun, so I'm into these. I'd also be curious to see what brands like Tandem Cross, Stuff and Things, Volkortzen, all those might do to like ramp one of these up to a new level. And yes, there is another new rifle from Smith & Wesson this week. It's called the M&P 15 Axe. You can have it with a 16 or 14.5 standard rifle setup, an 11-inch SBR, or the Performance Center 16-inch version. The things that make these special are the Gemtech flash hider, GVAC gas system, which is also a Gemtech thing. They own that company. A Midwest Industries handguard, radiant charging handle, ambi controls, folding sights, flat face trigger, and a grip that mimics the M&P pistols. And something that I kind of hate about most ARs these days is they only ship with 1 standard cap mag. That's dumb. On paper, this is a nice rifle. The MSRP is $1,600 for the 16-inch, $1,580 for the 14.5, $1,559 for the SBR, and $1,650 for the PC version, which is different by changing the trigger out for a Hyperfire Enhanced Duty trigger and the gray finish. Honestly, not that bad for a $50 price jump from the standard one. I'd probably go for the PC version anyway. I'm feeling weird about ARs these days as a whole. Smith doesn't necessarily make a bad rifle, but I'm just not super comfortable paying $1,650 for an AR that'll likely shoot 1.5-inch groups with good ammo. I want better than that. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm weird. I've been wrong plenty of times, and I know a lot of you guys disagree with my standards, but I'd like to hear what you guys think about current AR offerings down in the comments. Welcome back to another episode of the Gun Collective News. I'm John Patton. Hello, welcome. It's good to have you here. If you want to find out who won the big case that we were giving away, that you guys were texting about, you're going to have to wait till later in the show. Yeah, I'm a dick like that. In the meantime, I'm going to share something pretty rad. As some of you may know, there were some major issues with the GunCon venue this year. I did a video about it. Go watch it if you want the details. That included them banning 3 of the speakers from entering the building. Yeah, I had a whole story. Go watch the video. Well, as it turned out, we are going to make up for that a bit by having what I've named the GunCon Liberty and Freedom Gathering at Goals in Knoxville, Tennessee. Attorney General Bailey, Johnny B., and Paul from Legally Armed America and I will be talking about true freedom, censorship, and much more. There will be a link in the description to go find out more about the timing and how to get tickets and all that kind of stuff. I'll see you there, August 9th and 10th. Now, we have a bunch of new stuff to cover this week, so try to keep up. Next up, slightly related to those opening Smith & Wessons, is another gun chambered in a Smith & Wesson caliber, 500 Smith & Wesson to be exact. It's from Horn Armory, and this is a takedown version of their Model 89. I've got one back there on the wall, and they're freaking cool. I've had one of their Model 89 rifles for a long time, and I really like it, so it could be pretty neat, especially if you want to travel into like a hunting area with a compact backpack, something like that. The barrel length is standard at 18 inches with a walnut stock and a black finish on the metal parts. At $3,800 MSRP, it better be the tightest lockup of any takedown I've ever seen, because I have personal knowledge of how stout that recoil can be, and that's got to be a tight fit. On top of that, I've never seen another company making a 500 Magnum lever action, let alone a takedown version. To me, Like the one I already have, this is more of an heirloom gun rather than like end of world, go to war type thing. I guess unless the dinosaurs come. Somebody call Chris Pratt. Moving on to something a bit more affordable. Chiappa has a new one called the Big Badger. Sounds like a nickname for somebody's dad. This is an expansion of their Badger lineup with the Little Badger single shot and the Double Badger, which has a more normal stock and combines a 410 shotgun with a rimfire cartridge in separate barrels on the same gun. That's neat. This Big Badger is like the little one in that it's only a single shot and is more of a survival type gun. You can have them in 3 different calibers. The 410 shotgun version is $225 MSRP, while the 30-30 Winchester and 350 Legend versions are $363 MSRP. They all have a pick rail on top and bottom of the handguard and M-lock on the sides of that, while the stock has a cheek piece and a recoil pad out back. Very, very simple, which helps keep that cost down. I'm not really sure I have a need for one of these, but hey, that's kind of neat, right? In other affordable gun news, TSOS USA has a new one for us this week in the PX9 family. This time, it's the Duty Comp model. You have a 4.1-inch barrel with a big old chunk port taken out of the nose, plus some decent-looking serrations on the slide, an optic cut for RMR pattern, aluminum flat-face trigger, ambi controls, Glock pattern sights, P226 magazines. It comes with an 18 and a 20 rounder, which is nice, but it's only 2. The back straps are interchangeable, as is kind of standard these days, and it has a Tennifer finish. The MSRP is $523 on that. That is solid value if the gun runs well. If any of you out there actually own a PX9, sound off in the comments with your experience. I don't know a lot about them. And while you're doing that, let's hear from this week's sponsor, Medical Gear Outfitters. Whether you're looking to get an IFAK for yourself like the Civilian Medical Trauma Kit, or maybe something a little bit more diverse to keep in your truck like the Overlander First Aid Kit, they've got you covered. They even have one called the Mom First Aid Kit that has everything you can think of for minor boo-boos all the way up to major trauma. These kits from Medical Gear Outfitters will help you stay prepared for anything, and to make it even more affordable than it already is, use the code TGC10 for 10% off at medicalgearoutfitters.com. Thanks, as always, to Medical Gear Outfitters for supporting TGC. We really appreciate them. They're great folks. We like supporting them. They like supporting us. It's a symbiotic thing. It's wonderful. You guys hopefully like buying their stuff. Let's keep it rolling with this week's Friendly Fire question. If you want to ask me a question, slam it down in the comments with the words Friendly Fire so that I can go back and find it. That's how this works. It's great when you do that. We've got a few this week as per usual. First is from Tattooed Mexican, and he says, can you look into the Kentucky Expo Center for GunCon next year? So I'm going to explain it like this. Every time I mention GunCon, tons of people comment that we should move it wherever they happen to live. Like, have it in my backyard. Very few people are actually suggesting places with huge outdoor range spaces nearby. And generally, most places are just not the best fit. Maybe there's not enough infrastructure, not enough people around to attend. I don't know. I've actually looked at Knob Creek specifically, and I'm not sure that range is right for our setup, but it's not off the table. Nothing is off the table until we lock things in for next year. Stay tuned. We're considering a lot of locations. Rose X3 says, are you aware that so many people support you and appreciate you and what the gun tuber community does? I'll say that it's very difficult for me personally to look past the negative stuff, the negative comments, things like that. I tend to get stuck on them instead of remembering that so many of you guys are just like this. Super supportive, just great people to be around. It's difficult for me to not just narrow in on that negative stuff. But thank you for reminding me. It is helpful, honestly, it really is. And Potato Puffer, what a great name, is over on Float Plane. Go watch over there if you want to see our videos completely ad-free. He says, if metal 3D printing machines were more affordable like the desktop stuff we see now, like FDM stuff, would you be more interested in manufacturing or designing your own stuff? That's kind of tough for me, like John Patton. That's tough for me. I sort of have access to that kind of stuff already because I have some amazing friends and relationships in the industry, so if I needed to use it or wanted to use it, I could get that done. For me, manufacturing is something that I might get into later on down the road, maybe when I'm older, but I'm more interested in allocating my time currently to sharing new stuff with you guys and also focusing on building the business and GunCon and then spending time with my loved ones. The older I get, the more important that last part becomes to me. So I'm not sure. I guess the answer is not really, but I do think it would be amazing if those types of machines were affordable to everyone. I think that would change the dynamic of how people purchase stuff. Like global scale, it would change it. My friendly fire question to you guys this week. What is your go-to gun for teaching beginners how to shoot? Sound off in the comments with your thoughts. In gun-adjacent news, we have a new company called Auto Ears, and the name is right on with what they claim. These are a set of ear pro that turn on when you put them on your head, and they turn off when you take them off your head. They have comfy gel ear pads that go over. Those are like nice and soft, and they use Bluetooth. That sounds pretty neat to me personally. Now, I normally wouldn't cover something that is on Kickstarter. However, they are already fully funded and shipping has already begun, including a few pair that I actually have already that I've been testing. So I'm not really afraid to share this with you guys. That said, the MSRP as listed on the Kickstarter is $109 for one set. That's not cheap. It gets a little more affordable as you scale up and buy more, but still. Our testing is ongoing with these, so I'm not going to this isn't a full review, but I will say that they do actually turn on automatically, and that alone is pretty cool. Moving on, Holosun has some new optics in their ARO lineup. These are meant to be a generational upgrade from their old tube-style optics that everybody kind of started with Holosun. To be honest, these look pretty sweet, and with MSRPs ranging from $188 on the low end up to $352 for the fanciest green reticle version, that's not bad at all. They also released the Ames Pro X2 and the Ames Core X2, and these are mailbox-style optics and are water and dust resistant and claim to offer good durability. They seem pretty cool. The Pro version has solar on top as well as the multi-reticle system, and the Core doesn't. The Pro also is IPX8 certified, meaning it's very, very water resistant. Basically the same as your fancy new smartphone. That's the one I would probably get. MSRPs range from $352 up to $505 on the high end for those. And speaking of Holosun, if you email scholosun@gmail.com and tell them TGC sent you, you'll get a good deal on a Holosun optic. A bunch of you guys have already done this the last time we called this out, so maybe see if they have this new stuff on there and you get a good deal. I don't know. I have no idea. I've not found out yet, but you guys can find out. Send them an email. In ammo news, we have a bunch of new offerings, so I'm just going to keep this really simple. Federal released the new Rob Roberts Raptor Steel shotgun load for 12 gauge. Apparently these are set up to work with the Raptor chokes. Okay. Fiocchi released the Backwoods Hunter line of ammo with all copper bullets in 8 different calibers. That's cool. I honestly prefer all copper bullets over lead core. I really actually prefer those. If they function correctly, you know, that matters. Winchester released 2 new shotgun loads as well with the Last Call double shot in a bunch of different versions. It's their tungsten shot mixed with a bit of steel shot, and that's neat if it works well. That's available in 20 and 12 gauge. Then you have their Magnum Dove in the same gauges, which is high brass, and it's a mix of 7.5 shot mixed with 9 shot. The small 9 is smaller to give, I guess, better pattern density downrange. Cool. Then Black Collar Arms has a new division of the company called Black Collar Munitions, and they're kicking off with a subsonic 308 load with a 220 grain bullet, and they claim it's more affordable than others. At $1 a shot, it is actually the most affordable that I could find. I went digging. That's pretty affordable for that, but still not what most people would call cheap. Cool. And before we get into industry news, I'm going to get you guys something really good. You just stand right there. I'm going to announce the winner of this case. You guys have been texting over the last month, and you got entered and all that, and I think it's awesome how many of you participated, so thank you for doing that. We're definitely going to keep this going and do another one after this, so if you don't win, stay tuned. Put your suggestions in the comments with what should go inside the case next time. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, enough BS. The winner of the case that you see on screen, Ryan Van Dyke out of Iowa. Congrats, Ryan. That's awesome. You'll be getting a message from me personally to cover the details on this. Again, thanks to everyone for entering. Leave your suggestions in the comments. In gun industry news, Keltec the second most insane gun brand out there behind Stuff and Things, hosted a ribbon cutting ceremony at a new facility in Rock Springs, Wyoming. This facility has apparently been making their PR-57 pistols for a bit now, I think since February. But they decided to finally get out there and celebrate it and make a thing out of it. I love that Kel-Tec is expanding from Florida to Wyoming and sort of spreading areas of freedom around the country. And I know that some folks take issue with Kel-Tec as a brand and their cheaper guns, but much like PSA, arming the American people is a priority for them, and that's not a bad thing.